shattered space is fast approaching, and Bethesda is ratcheting up many of the issues, discretion, suggestions within Starfield, the base game. Today we got some absolutely mind-blowing news. To me, this is more profound than any DLC. The ramifications are so long-lasting, will impact every single player, and breaks the boundaries that deterred a lot of players from engaging with Starfield. It's hard to highlight just how magnanimous this update is, but we have to hold our horses because it's probably about a week or two away, as this insane news only comes to the Steam beta. In any case, we're going to get into this in quite a bit of detail, break down why some of these changes are so huge and pivotal to the Starfield community and Starfield's longevity. Freaking wild. So let's start off here. A couple videos ago, we covered a mod pretty much specifically designed to fix this issue. Let's just take a quick look. Bethesda made a crazy decision to remove one of the most critical parts to shipbuilding, which was the ship flip merge, allowing you to break the tolerances and pretty much attach ship parts in the most fantastical way. Well, since removing that critical aspect to the shipbuilders, we do have a mod that will fix it. This is a temporary fix, but I also think like this functionality, since it's existed on PC, is almost better because it just completely removes a lot of the tolerance issues, which is pretty much the reason we need a lot of the different techniques, at least from my understanding. So when we're talking about tolerances, it's just how much can things overlap before it goes red. So currently this functionality is off, so there is no overlapping allowed without using the techniques oftenly used by the shipbuilders. And what we're going to do quickly, just to give a good example, is a tolerance of -1. So with that same example, here is landing gear, and you can see we are not going red, and we've actually crossed over into another object. But you can see with just -1, look how much room we have to muck around with already. So as you can see, this mod fixes an issue of the flip merge, which was a pivotal function for the shipbuilders. And now what is crazy is that Bethesda have certainly listened to the community. They're adding the very same function back, but you can actually toggle it on and off in the settings. And what is crazy is that in the August update, where we received the Rev 8, as we can see here, that update, we had this change. Shipbuilder, ship module, variants, and flip versions will now correctly revert to the original when pressing the cancel button, which is the very fix that destroyed the flip merge technique. And then if we head over to the latest update, so in August, we removed this functionality, and now in September, we're getting an update that is officially adding this behavior in. I have to chuckle to myself because this is, one, rather impressive that they've done this to help us all out, but two, the fact that they've removed it and then added it is rather remarkable as well. In any case, it doesn't really matter. The fact that we're getting it back and we can toggle it on and off is going to be huge. So flip merge is coming back to Starfield officially. It is officially a recognized functionality to break the shipbuilder to allow the most creative Unreal ships to build on Xbox, PC. So that's really cool to see. Now, another phenomenal change that is coming in this next update is around the distance level of detail. Specifically quoting from the patch updates, we have Creation Kit, the automated process used to create models for Distant LOD is now available. LOD, which stands for the level of detail, has important implications for both mod creators and the game itself. Here's what it means. First of all, let's understand what is the Distant LOD. LOD, or level of detail, refers to the technique used in 3D graphics to reduce the complexity of distant objects in the game world. When you look at something from far away, the game doesn't need to render it in high detail because you won't see the small details anyway. This helps improve performance by reducing the strain on the system. So as an example, say there's a huge skyscraper quite far in the distance. Do we need to render the details of the window, the textures of the concrete, reflections, etc.? Is there any need to do that when we're so far away? We can't really observe those details anyway. So the level of detail is sort of a way to reduce a huge amount of stress on systems by only introducing the concrete textures, the window reflections. As we creep closer and closer to that building, more of those details will become much more profound until they're pretty much completely rendered in. So in essence, level of detail models are simplified versions of objects that render when those objects are viewed from a distance. In Starfield's huge open world environment, this is crucial to maintaining high performance while keeping distant objects visually accurate from afar. Now, you may have noticed we've been mucking around with an insane bio mod that adds so much, one, enjoyment, but two, a lot of load to your machine. This new change alone could have huge profound effects on these performance on the performance of mods that create a much more vibrant, rich world. So the creation kit and the automated Distant LOD model creation. So we'll go into further detail on this. The creation kit is Bethesda's official modding tool. This allows modders, players to create and modify and enhance the game world. It's the bedrock to creating quests, locations, game enhancers, everything we know and see as mods pretty much come from the creation kit now. The key note here is that the update means that the creation kit will now have an automated process to generate these distant LOD models. So this is why it'll matter. Easier modding workflow. Before this update, modders had to manually create low detailed versions of objects for the LOD. This can be a super time-consuming and complex task, requiring extra tools and knowledge of 3D modeling. With this new automated process, modders can now generate these lower detailed models with a minimal effort. This simplifies the process of creating new assets and modifying large landscapes, ensuring that distant objects still look good without hitting performance. Absolutely bonkers, mind-blowing. This is a game changer. Number 2, there's better performance in the custom mods. Mods that add new locations, large structures, or even overhauls, just like the one we saw of the New Atlantis overhaul, will all see huge, great benefits from this feature. The automated distant level of detail generation ensures that distant objects are effectively rendered, maintaining performance, which is crucial for both players and modders when exploring expansive areas or using large-scale mods. This is also going to give us higher visual consistencies. With automated distant level of details, the overall quality and consistency of distant visuals in mods will improve. Even if the modder doesn't have experience in creating LODs, they can still produce well-optimized content that looks good from all distances. So this is going to streamline asset creation as well. New assets such as custom buildings, landscape changes can now be processed more efficiently. Modders can now focus on creativity, design, rather than spending all that extra time optimizing for performance. So overall, as enjoyers of modding Starfield, we'll see potentially faster creations of large-scale mods, more accessible mods, improved game performance with mods, and future modding potential. So overall, it's a huge win. So this brings us to the next huge change, which I would argue is by far the most profound update we could ever wish for, just because it has such a profound effect. But first, to understand this next change, we need to dive into understanding what's happening. So to quote the change, resolved an issue that limited the number of loaded creations to 255. So in order to understand this and why there was such a limitation, we also have to look backwards a bit, because this limitation has been present in other games. I believe Skyrim, Fallout 4, there was a technical issue there in that engine too that restricted the numbers of the ESP and ESM files that you could load at once to 255. Now, if you're wondering what ESM stands for, it stands for Elder Scrolls Master File, and ESP is the Elder Scrolls plugin. So these terminologies come from way back. But ultimately, to summarize, like at high level, we're kind of limited to 200. We're limited to 255 due to how the game engine handled mods loading in and how it assigned the hexadecimal, the 2-digit index for mods. So each mod that you add to the game would take up a mod index slot, with the total counting being 255 hexadecimals. This index limit made it impossible to load more than 255 mods simultaneously, including the base game files and DLCs. So why does Starfield have this problem? Well, Bethesda are using an updated version of the creation engine, which is pretty much the same engine from long time back. It inherits the same technical limitations from previous Bethesda games because of this, including the 255 mod limit. So a lot of nonsense a lot of us won't understand, but just know that this crazy mod limitation was inherent to this engine. They have fixed this problem within the creation engine. So now, in theory, I believe we can technically have unlimited amount of mods. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably going to be a limit, but isn't this going to be so freaking unreal? So in 2 weeks, we'll be able to enjoy very, very briefly, perhaps not even actually, because we'll get the DLC as well, so all our mods will break. So probably within 3 to 4 weeks, we could potentially have mod list breaching 500, meaning if you want the full Star Wars conversion, well, now you can do the biggest Star Wars conversion ever. If you just want to have a bazillion mods with all the different various things that you like, technically it is all now possible, as long as we all ensure we have the correct load orders, but this is just massive. So this means in the future, we can enjoy Starfield, hopefully having a much more forgiving experience when we get to these kind of crazy numbers of mods. It's also going to bring a lot of cool relevance into mod packs within Nexus, which I think I'll consider try doing and building. I don't know how it all works, but I've seen them for Cyberpunk, so it would be cool to provide something like that to the community. But let me know if you have any insight into that, or if you want to help. Could be some cool things we could do there. So increasing the mod limit is by far the biggest change for me. It is more important than than the DLC or any single change that we required within Starfield, but that's just me personally. So it's so freaking wild to see. This is a profound update. Now, I was going to go through and read these all out just for completeness. However, we're just going to target and highlight the other main changes. However, if it is useful to have a readout just so you can get the updates while you're doing other activities, let me know. I would find that helpful myself. So as we've gone through, we have the huge update, which is going to automate the process of creating distant LODs. You have the removal of the restriction on 255 mods. Another huge one for me is the lighting changes and enhances have been made throughout the game. This to me is going to be a big deal. This could have a huge profound effect on how the overall look and feel of Starfield is. So we'll be able to see this in more detail and to be able to do a little bit of comparison hopefully in another video. Also noting that they continue to make performance and stability improvements. The game continually is getting better in terms of performance, so nice to see that they've been able to make further changes to help performance. When it comes to gameplay, the main one really is robots and turrets will now take damage from electromagnetic weapons, so that's an interesting change there. When it comes to quests, they have fixed so many quests within Starfield, so many of the game-breaking quests have been fixed, and even some of the more rarer cases are being fixed as a part of this change. We won't go through these, there's just so many, but it's really nice to see. And this is that whole ratcheting down and fixing many of the biggest issues people had. Locations, we have a lot of small minor texture changes, collision changes, nothing too profound here. Shipbuilding, we've already covered the biggest one, the ship flip merge behavior to be toggled on and off. The other big one with these ships is that you can no longer sell the non-sellable ships like the Frontier and the Starborn, even using that trick where the vendor has no cash. Now vehicles, this is another really big one for everyone, particularly on Xbox. Address the issue with set active in vehicle menu when using a gamepad. So oh my god, have we had so many issues on Xbox. Judging from the comments, this has been a major problem. People have not even been able to select the Rev 8 or change the Rev 8 if they've downloaded a vehicle mod. They're fixing that bug. You'll now be able to use the gamepad. The only way to get around this apparently on Xbox is to use a keyboard, or apparently you have to disable all your mods or disable the community patch. There's a few things going around about how to fix it, but anyway, that's coming really soon to fix that. The only other one that I was interested in is the vehicle icon will no longer display in interior maps. Wasn't sure if that's such a good idea. It's good in some cases, in others it might be helpful, particularly for those who have a fast travel mod on, but anyway, that's going to be gone. And then when it comes to UI, there's just a ton of little minor UI changes. We won't comb through these because there's nothing too crazy, but lots of very helpful UI changes. One big audio change though is that they've now changed ecliptic mercenary voices to now use the same filter in all language. So that would have sounded pretty odd when listening to ecliptic mercenaries in different languages, but anyway, it won't really impact too many of us. So outside this, we have a completely huge change coming within the next 2 weeks. We do have to keep in mind this change is going to break all the mods, or a lot of them. And then we have Shattered Space to deal with as well. That's going to break all the mods. You'll probably be playing Shattered Space for the first week or two without any mods, depending on how quick the uptake is. But this is going to be massive. Such a cool change. I'm so excited for this. It's going to be massive. Thanks for listening. If you get anything out of this, consider liking and subscribing. It goes a really long way. Peace.